Hi everyone, Chris here to run through some recent vinyl releases from New Zealand artists. Starting off with Surf City, Jekyll Island, the third LP I think, an EP to precede that from these guys. They spent some time in the US but they're now back based in New Zealand, although released on English label WaihekeRecords, and they just kind of do what they do. They've got I think a lot of influences from Flying Nun, similar influences to Flying Nun, but they managed to not ape any of those influences, so they've kind of got that driving rhythm section, and they just get into the groove, kind of indie guitar based sound, but it's got this kind of 60s psychedelia which just kind of seeps through as well. Very kind of dreamy, laid-back kind of feel to the vocals and guitars over those driving rhythms. Yeah, really great album actually, Jekyll Island. Next up, WaihekeRecords that feature kind of really abrasive guitar, alternative guitar. Four fantastic records to show you here. First up, Xanadu, a band who were around from 1999 to 2002. Who had some material released on CD, a great series of CDs actually. A Low Hum put out 10 high quality zines with CDs in the 2000s, and Xanadu featured on there, but for the first time on vinyl, and a limited release of 100, so if you see this, grab it. This is number 87. Live and studio tracks from that period. There's not many bands who can carry off a cover of the Dead Sea, but that's what Xanadu do on here with a cover of the Dead Sea's Sky, and that kind of maybe gives you some sense, if you know the Dead Sea, of where they're coming from. Yeah, great guitar band. A couple of records again in that kind of, still in that kind of aggressive, abrasive guitar sound from WaihekeRecords. Benji, who runs Musai, has moved to the UK, but he's still releasing New Zealand music, a lot of it on vinyl. This is the first of the vinyl releases for 2015. This is Digitizer from Proton Beast, and Digitizer, yeah, it's hard. It's they did used to use a drum machine, but they've moved to a human drummer for this, but it has that kind of unrelenting hard-edged sound. You know, song titles like Tetris, Data, Digitizer give you some kind of sense of where this is coming from. Vocoded vocals, and yeah, very kind of edgy, abrasive, angular sound to this, and kind of unrelenting. Also on WaihekeRecords, just brand new out this week, God Bows to Math, their second album, first on vinyl. Brighter futures, and it sounds like they're angry and they feel like there's anything but brighter futures ahead of us. At time to time, this reminds me a little bit of Die Die Die, that kind of angular, kind of, you know, I suppose anger as well that comes through. Yeah, this is a really good record. I've been playing this over and over, and I think this could be heading into my top list. And on WaihekeRecords. Not on Musai, but associated with that label, who have released earlier material from the band, is Girls Pissing on Girls Pissing, a split LP they've done with Looks Like Meow. I think this is Tendress, I think is a Belgian label, but European at least, and yeah, as uncompromising and as abrasive as their band title, Girls Pissing on Girls Pissing. This is I don't know if you know the band Sharpie Crows. It kind of reminds me of that, but kind of going further. And yeah, with beautiful packaging here. Those covers are screen printed. Here's the inside, and even the label looks great. And I'm hoping, or I believe for some reason, I've read it somewhere, that Girls Pissing on Girls Pissing are working on their own full-length release, which will be great, but this is a great taster and well worth tracking down. So moving away from the abrasion and the anger into something a bit more moody, atmospheric, dark, but in a different way, gothic without being goth, from Dunedin, and Dunedin label Fish Rider is Death and the Maiden, their debut LP from this three-piece. Really great. I saw one of the members of this play at the Lines of Flight Festival under the name Bird Nation, doing kind of looped kind of shoegaze. This has got elements of kind of shoegaze, but kind of electronica, electronic indie, but there's shoegazy guitars in here as well. Has that kind of, as I say, kind of gothic, dreamy kind of feel to it. This is a really, really strong record, I think, and great cover artwork as well. Fish Rider Records haven't really put a foot wrong since they started releasing material a few years ago, and they have more releases planned coming up later this year. This is kind of dreamy synth pop from Yumi Zuma, their second EP on American label Cascine. It's out in two versions, black vinyl, and I've got here the limited translucent blue version of this 10-inch record, and makes a nice accompaniment to EP1, pretty much in the same vein, working up to a debut album as well. Phoenix Foundation's side project Bunnies on Ponies have released their album Heat Death of the Universe. It came out last year, the vinyl just came out this year. This is Samuel Flynn Scott, one of the main songwriters from the Phoenix Foundation, his side project, second album, first on vinyl, out on Flying Out. And Flying Out was the company that was set up to kind of manage and distribute Arch Hill and Flying Nun. They've started releasing some material under their own auspices. This is one along with Aldous Harding, and this is on blue vinyl. So how does it compare to the Phoenix Foundation? Well, perhaps that this record in particular, Samuel Flynn Scott was listening to lots of grunge at the time he wrote it, so it's kind of got that 90s guitar sound. He's a great songwriter, and yeah, but this is kind of leans more on the kind of guitars perhaps, and less of the kind of some of the kind of krautrock and old country influences which come through in the Phoenix Foundation. SJD, was his name Sean James Donnelly, I think. This is his album St. John Divine. Yeah, St. John Divine. I can't remember what number album this is for SJD, but it's the first on vinyl. He's been releasing records for a long time. The last album, Electric Wasteland, got rave reviews. I didn't really like it that much. It was mainly electronic based. This expands the sound, goes back to more of a band setup. He's long been a side man to many accomplished New Zealand artists alongside his own material, working with people and being acclaimed by people like Neil Finn and so on. A really strong record that's a grower, and the songs, I think, just reveal themselves more and more upon each listening. And yeah, he's a great songwriter. This is a really strong album from him. Delaney Davidson's a really prolific artist, and one that is a favourite of mine. This is brand new from him. It's called Diamond Dozen. It's a collection of outtakes, demos, discarded songs that didn't make it onto other releases from the last 10 years or so. And it is on this great kind of brown, screen printed onto the brown. Here's the inner sleeve, again screen printed. It's a mix. There's some covers in here, but there's some number of his own songs as well. And this comes in three versions: 300 on black vinyl, 100 on clear vinyl, and 100 on gold vinyl. Again, I'm a sucker for the coloured vinyl, so I was always going to go for that one. And you know, it's big demos and outtakes. Some of this kind of has a kind of rough and ready feel, but I think that kind of works with Delaney Davis's sound, which is always kind of ghostly and otherworldly anyway. Kind of always feels like he's channeling something from the past, those bluesmen of the past. Diamond Dozen. In a different vein altogether, from Fizz, who is an artist I'm really keen on, again quite prolific, is a reissue of his 2012 EP Duck Dive, and he's classed by many as drum and bass or electronica, but this is kind of more kind of ghostly, again otherworldly, kind of creepy, I think, and that's what I really like about him. Yeah, really a fan of his work. The reissue on purple vinyl, kind of purple translucent vinyl. It's got these nice kind of blue purple bits running through it, and that's a limited release. I don't know how many there are of those, sorry. There's also been another of his EPs released at the same time, which after listening to this I might have to pick up. A few 7-inches to finish off, and boy, what a great bunch right here. Connie Benson, Stampede, backed with Dragster. This woman is an amazing guitar player. It's instrumental, surf, rockabilly sound, and she really shreds it. She's an incredible player, really great 7-inch from her, which I highly recommend picking that one up. Princess Chelsea, she's on Little Chief Records. Her second album, Cyberkinetic something or other, is coming out soon in May. This is the first, maybe the second single from it, No Church on Sunday, backed with Digital Dream Girl, and this is out on Little Chief Records, and she kind of does this kind of quirky electronic pop. And what have we got here? Oh no, we'll finish, no, here we go. X-Ray Fiends on the always fantastic Sound Recordings, which is a not-for-profit, all-analogue label run by this guy who was in Auckland. He's shifted to Australia, but he's still releasing some New Zealand material. Here we go, the screen printed cover is fantastic. It's available in different colours. I've seen green, purple, red, fluorescent orange, and the songs on here: Herpes, cover of Black Sabbath's Sweet Leaf, and then there's one called Prozac, 165 copies. This is number 24, and it's all analog, recorded to 2-track tape and analog processing all the way through, analog mixing and mastering and so on. And he's the guy Alex Bennett, who runs Sound Recordings, managed to track down a plant which will do the pressing from analog source as well. And finally, just to finish off, something I picked up on a recent trip to Dunedin to go to this fantastic festival called Lions of Flight. 3 nights in an afternoon of experimental noise music. A couple of overseas acts, mostly New Zealand acts. Boy, what a fantastic time. A lot of it held in Port Chalmers, just out of Dunedin. Got to meet a great bunch of people, go shopping, pick up some records. I might do another video with some of the records I picked up down there. But here's one from one of the bands who saw, Sandoz Lab Technicians, who've been around since the early to mid-90s, still performing today. This is a single of theirs from 2001. It's Microverse Wallpaper, out on City Records on white vinyl. And they played on the Saturday afternoon. There was a lot of merch, a lot of CDRs and tapes and so on from bands playing there, a bit of vinyl, and so it's nice, which is always nice to pick up. And yeah, they were, I think, one of the standout performances. Certainly the standout afternoon. It was this great afternoon where you had Bird Nation, who I talked about before, the woman from Death and the Maiden. There was Teen Haters, which is Peter Wright, favourite of mine, along with another woman playing cello. We had Sandoz Lab Technician, and then a handful of Dust, which is Peter Russell, and Alistair Galbraith. Fantastic festival. Going to that has meant I've kind of had to pull back on the record buying a bit, with Record Store Day coming up as well. Hopefully we'll have some new things to show you soon. As always, radio shows, videos, vinyl news and so on Facebook.com/countingthebeat, Twitter.com/WaihekeRecords. Thanks for watching.